Hello everyone. I was originally intending on this video to be a look back into a certain YouTuber. I haven't spoken about them in a while, and I thought it'd be fun to see what they've been up to since I've last seen their channel. I am, of course, talking about the Vigilant Christian, or what he is now known as Vigilant Vlogs. He's still a Christian, and he still makes Christian-oriented content. However, his last videos caught my attention the most. Right now, the Vigilant Vlogger is taking a break making videos because of his addiction to steroids. No, I am not exaggerating. He's also been admitted into rehab, and then failed because he was caught with steroids in-house. The Vigilant Vlogger has admitted fault, and he keeps saying that he's continuing to pray, and is even asking for prayers to get him out of his addiction. Clearly, prayer is doing absolutely nothing to help him, as he has continued to indulge in his addiction. A lot of people can call the Vigilant Vlogger weak because of his slip-up. However, if people really understood what addiction is and how it works, I think they wouldn't be too judgmental, and actually would try to empathize with the Vigilant Vlogger. Addiction is far from an easy fight, and it takes a lot more effort than it seems. You know movies or shows where vampires have an overwhelming desire to drink blood? It's kinda like that, except to a little bit of a lesser extent. Believe it or not, I've actually seen real people say very negative things about those addicted to drugs, and how they're a lost cause and shouldn't be helped. Specifically, I heard that from a friend on Facebook. I've also heard that from those who probably never experienced addiction. They seem to have the idea that all you have to do is basically will yourself to stop being addicted. While it is entirely possible to will yourself to not cave into your addiction, it's not only very difficult to achieve, especially with harder drugs, but quitting cold turkey could also lead to some terrible side effects, ranging from headaches to getting even more desire to consume the substance that is causing the addiction, and also in extreme cases, just straight up full-blown seizures. One song that explores the mentality of someone who thinks addiction isn't really a big deal is The Outsider by A Perfect Circle. The outsider is a close friend or relative looking into the life of their addicted friend or relative. They say a lot of mean and vitriolic things about the victim. This song gets misinterpreted a lot, but if you understand the album's meaning that the song is featured in, you'll understand the meaning of the song. I mean, fuck, the album is called 13th Step, that's pretty fucking obvious to me. To get a good idea about what addiction is, I turned to psychiatry.org to get some explanation. Essentially, addiction is the compulsive use of a substance despite the harmful impact it has on the user's physical and social well-being. These victims have an intense desire and want to use whatever substance that they are addicted to. This can become extremely dangerous and can potentially take over the victim's life, resulting in the loss of family, friends, significant others, and even jobs. People can develop an addiction to, well, almost anything if you're not too careful, but certain substances can lead to addiction a lot quicker than any other. Psychiatry.org mentions some substances, although, well, you know, some of them are kinda, but let's see what they have to say. People can develop an addiction to alcohol, marijuana, PCP, LSD, and other hallucinogens, inhalants such as paint thinners and glue, opioid painkillers, such as codeine and oxycodone, heroin, sedatives, hypnotics, and medicines for anxiety, such as tranquilizers, cocaine, methamphetamine, and other stimulants. Oh, and did I mention tobacco? I love how tobacco's at the bottom of the list, but marijuana is at the top. That's interesting. These substances change the brain's functions, causing something that's called intoxication. This is the high that draws people into becoming addicted to the substance in the first place. One of the most harmful aspects about addiction is what's called a tolerance. Basically, the body naturally builds up a tolerance to the substances that you use, and the high gets lesser and lesser. This obviously leads to using the substance at higher amounts, increasing the feeling of the high. This is when people overestimate how much they can intake and overdose, which can lead to death. Now, with something like marijuana, this isn't really a big deal. Especially with legal marijuana, it'd be almost impossible to overdose on it, unless you are using this substance underage. With something like alcohol or even heroin, overdosing becomes much more of a danger. This is why a lot of people were, and still are, pissed about the opioid crisis. Doctors prescribe these highly addictive substances to people who have been hurt to reduce pain, Not only do these reduce pain, but it also causes addiction. What's even more dangerous is when the prescription runs out, the victim of the drug will have to find some other means of obtaining it. I cannot emphasize enough how dangerous drugs can be, especially on the black market. While legal stuff is a lot safer, as it tends to be looked at really closely, with illegal stuff, there is no guarantee you're even getting the product you're asking for. If you're smart enough, sure, maybe you know your drugs and you know what to take and what not to take. If you've never touched any drugs in your life, and all of a sudden you are in a major car accident with a shitload of injury and pain, you'd be none the wiser. You can tell immediately how dangerous this can potentially get. One of the most interesting aspects about addiction is the fact that some victims of addiction are aware that they are addicted. Despite knowing they're in the undertow, they continue to use the substance because they are unable to control themselves. However, even the most addicted individuals can benefit from treatment. This isn't on psychiatry.org, but it's interesting nonetheless. I've actually experienced, firsthand, someone stopping their addiction to alcohol using marijuana. Of course, at the end of the day, they essentially just replace their addiction with marijuana instead. However, being addicted to something that is less harmful and could potentially provide benefits is a lot better than being addicted to a substance that is literally considered poison. That was a step in the right direction. One thing I noticed is common and is even introduced in the 12-step program is praying. Basically, you are replacing the substance you are addicted to with praying. Now you see why the vigilant vlogger is not being helped with prayer. He was already conditioned to pray, so he would have a harder time replacing his addiction with praying. As mentioned previously, people can get addicted to anything. Sometimes it isn't even a substance someone is addicted to. Psychiatry.org mentions gambling disorder as a related condition. Gambling disorder is in the category of behavioral addictions. That basically means behaviors that someone is addicted to. Having a gambling disorder is obviously really dangerous. I'm sure you all have scenarios playing out in your head as we speak. The wife that sells the house, the husband gambling away his daughter's college money, and the complete loss of potentially thousands of dollars. Addiction is really scary and not something that should be taken lightly. I've personally never experienced addiction myself, but I hope I was able to inform. People like to talk a lot of shit, but at the end of the day, addiction can totally ruin someone's life. I hope to bring some awareness to addiction, as even one person believing that addiction should not be taken seriously is too many. Oh boy, I've really been wanting to add this segment to my videos, and I almost forgot to add it. Picture of the week. Basically what this is I find pictures, or pictures are sent to me, that I find interesting, really funny, or, in this case, very grateful. Because in this case, my friend made me this picture. And that is, yes, that is a furry version of me with a gas mask on. This is probably the most epic picture I've ever seen. And I am grateful that my friend made it for me. Link to her social media stuff down in the description if you want to check out more artwork by her. She's a good artist and she deserves all the praise she gets. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please leave like we did. Subscribe if you want more content like this. Leave a comment if you want. Ring the bell if you want to be notified, I guess. I have a Patreon, link in the description down below to my Patreon. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Bye-bye! I was originally intending on this video to be a look back into a Sutin? Did I literally just say Sutin? Is that even a word? Fuck's sake, man.